Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no, we're good. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
But isn't that amazing the dichotomy and how we approach things differently at home? Now let me ask you guys, and I'll continue with Nikki after. Um, where do you think you're more successful in terms of conflict resolution? Are you better in your personal? Are you better in your professional?
Professional.
How about you, Nick?
So for me, I'm often, at least on a, from a work perspective, I'm oftentimes the subject matter expert.
Mm,
So it kind of puts me into like a force direct role, just being in
mm,
that type of role.
Spain. Gotcha.
Um, and then I typically, if that doesn't work, or I kind of resort to collaborative problem solving after that.
Got it.
Um, but a lot of the times I find myself in need for, some smoothing and accommodation. Um, Obviously it's kind of like the dichotomy, right? It's either force direct, smooth accommodate, they're kind of direct opposites. Um, I've been told sometimes that I come off as a little strong, just because being usually the subject matter expert in this stuff, I kind of like, here's the solution, let's just get there and get it done with, um, and
Next
sometimes
question, right?
sometimes it kind of ruffles people's feathers and stuff because they don't have time to kind of sit down, process, and look at all the different things and come to the same conclusion. I'm just like, okay, here it is, let's go. So I definitely, would want to work on that smoothing and accommodating, so that way, um, sometimes that, conflict resolution can happen, instead of coming off as a little forceful.
Got
Um, Now in my personal life, I think I'm kind of the opposite. My wife's really, really accommodating, to a fault. Um, and so I try to do that as well, because I don't want to be the person that's forceful. Um, and it's been
what
challenging to some
what's
degree.
the what is the settings, Nick, to get that accommodating? What's the source code?
I mean, it's to me, it's like in my personal life, a lot of it, a lot of the things just, it doesn't matter,
Mm,
right? In the grand scheme of things, right? It doesn't matter if we're having chicken or beef or what. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, right? So that's where, um, I think in a personal life you can be a lot more accommodating than you can in a work type environment.
well said. Well said. Thanks, Nick. Nikki.
So for work, I would say I'm more collaborative problem solving first, then force direct. But at home, I'm force direct, then problem
Mm.
solving.
What area do you wish you were better at?
More compromise and reconcile for me.
Very
Yeah.
good. Thanks, Nikki. How about you, Alicia?
Me, Alicia?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
my bad.
No, that's okay. I
Alicia.
always have to check. I have to check. Okay, so my family, we're probably saying about four different people, have about four different personalities.
Mm.
So no, I'm just teasing, just teasing. At least three.
Which
So
Alicia am I talking to right now?
I know, right? So at work, I'm and hopefully this doesn't come across wrong, but I'm the boss. So I find that I try to be more I don't know, I try and get to the root cause. So that could be seen
Mm.
as more direct. Well, I am direct, so it's more direct. And then it's all kumbaya, let's collaborate, let's figure it out. But
Mm.
once we know what the problem is, right? At home, with my godchildren, I am probably a totally different. I'm a pushover. So it is whatever that equates to on this. So pushover. But with my
Uh,
husband, he's king. So whatever he says goes. So there's your three people.
oh, wow. Which area do you wish you were better at?
The godchildren, because they are spoiled rotten. So they get away with
Mm.
everything. And my daughter's like, there's no way you're the same person. What happened?
What happened? Who is this?
Who are you?
Who
Who
are
are you? Oh yeah, I need to be. It's just so hard to say no. I can tell everybody else no, but it's hard to tell the little ones no. So I would actually like to make sure they have more boundaries, and you know, I'm training them up correctly and not just spoil them rotten. So
well, they found your source code and,
yeah,
and inserted.
yeah. Well, they bring me joy, so that's the difference.
Absolutely.
At work, it's always like a fire or someone wants a decision, so I'm constantly making decisions. And when you're
Right.
in that space where a lot of things rest on you, you tend to be more direct. Let's do this once you have all the
Right.
information, right? Because they're looking to you for that guidance. So
Sure.
I actually would like for my team to feel more empowered to make those decisions. And so
Right.
I'm trying to not withdraw, but trying to kind of ask them what they would do or let them know they're empowered and it's okay if we make mistakes and all that. but
Absolutely.
but I noticed they still come to me and say, well, I want to know what you think. So I may not be doing something right. That's one of the things I'd like to change. I want them to feel empowered to make decisions about their business, their teams, their culture, things like that. So I'm trying to figure out how do I do that with them.
A few things. One is having them state their opinions and thoughts first, right? And because since you're the leader, you serve as an anchor. So if you say yellow, everyone's favorite color is now yellow, type of thing. So
Mhm.
so that's one technique. But really, it's as as they make mistakes, they're looking at your reaction. Are you punitive and grab the reins, or do you allow them to figure it out, brush off themselves and go back at it and support, right? So that is a really big part of can I make mistakes? Is it okay? And am I allowed to fix things, or is that authority taken away from me? So um and I don't think that you're that type that's like, "Oh my god, Kenny made a mistake, so let's just give it to Nick." But yeah, so those are things that people look to, and um and sometimes it's the third one is just pushing back and saying, "All right, well, if you guys think that this is the right way to go, you're closer to the problem than I am. I'm gonna trust you, and let's do that." And then they're like, "Oh my god, really? Okay." Then that also helps. So those are just some of the things. But you're doing a great job, and the god kids, I can't help you with that because yeah, those puppy dog eyes, those are harnessed over thousands of years, so they have perfected that look.
They
Please.
have. Yep. And they're 3 and 5, so they're really
Oh
cute now.
god, no, no, yeah, there is no deny button there. It is hard to say no.
That's
Alright,
right.
Chris. Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
See if I can get off mute. Yeah, okay. I would say I'm like with work, I'm more start by smoothing and then move into collaborating. So
Mm,
like first, like, remind everyone, okay, these are our project objectives. We're all on this project to try to accomplish this goal, right? And then once I've done that, once I've kind of set that baseline, then working with each of the team members to figure out, okay, what's option one, what's option two, what's option three, like let's list out like our potential options to solve whatever the problem is. And then let's say, okay, what are the pros and cons of each option? And so it's really the, getting into the problem solving piece. So
Which part do you wish you were better at?
I would say, I mean, in my personal life, I think I would be more likely to do like the withdraw, avoid. And I think
Mm,
I want to get better at that piece of like when I come into conflict, not avoiding, like let's say someone brings up an issue to me that
right.
I have to talk to someone about. I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll wait to call them. And I'll say, oh, it's because I'm busy, but it's really
Sure.
just me procrastinating it because I don't
Yeah.
want to deal with the conflict, right?
Right.
Um, so I'd like to work on that part, yeah.
Absolutely. And again, all of these, none of these are better than the other. It's just depending on the situation. Like the withdraw void, you don't want to bring an issue up in a birthday party, right? So that would be a good technique at that point. However, on a regular Tuesday, you might want to move into some of the other approaches. So just know that none of these are bad or good in and of themselves. It's based on the situation. But yeah, I hear you, and if you can defer a little bit more, why not? Um, Jennifer Mansurian.
Hi, I'm here.
Hey,
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
no worries. So we're looking at the different conflict management approaches, and we're talking about which one is your primary, your kind of go-to naturally, which one is your secondary, and which one do you want to get
Current
better?
high call volume. All of our schedulers are assisting
My
other callers.
primary
We
is
apologize for the delay.
I'm pretty accommodating, so
Uh,
my first instinct is to accommodate because I don't personally like conflict and
mhm.
I tend to avoid it as well. But it also depends on the person. So especially on my small team, I know who I can be more direct with and feel comfortable talking through things with.
Sure.
Versus others I avoid and I just let the conflict stay there and pretend it doesn't exist indefinitely. But all those ones on the right is what I kind of go through. I'm accommodating and I'm
Mhm.
collaborative and I'll compromise.
Uh,
But I also have pretty strong opinions, so I'll interject those in there. And then with specific people, I'll withdraw.
how about at home? Are you pretty much the same or different?
Oh no, I'm very, very different at home. I'm pretty I'm pretty direct and
It is
my opinion
martial
is
law.
very strong at home. I do collaborate somewhat, but not very willingly. But I'll
Mm.
do it because I know that I don't want to get a divorce.
Uh, I love if you guys remember quality management where you have the different thresholds, right? Like this is the optimal. This is the threshold is divorce. I love that.
Yeah.
That's the line. So so at home you want to be better at collaborate. Is that what you said?
Yes, I am working on being more collaborative and
Ah,
compromising.
gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Press 1. If you would like
Um,
to leave a voicemail message, if you would like us to
trying
call
to
you
see
back at the
who's
number you called.
not on mute. I went away. Um, all right. Melissa.
I'm not, I was on mute. I think it depends on the situation, my conflict management approach. I think I am working towards being more collaborative. Certainly early in my career, I was very forceful and direct to a fault. So I tend to sway the other way more significantly to not come across that way. And then at home, I would say that it depends on the situation. I would be
Where do you lean more towards? Like last 10 conflicts, where did you?
at home,
Mm-hmm.
probably withdraw. I don't really like confrontation very much. And so, like, if my son is upset or my husband is upset, I would rather just not talk about it.
Let's move this to Saturday. No,
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly.
I get it. I get it. So which approach would you want to get better at?
Probably more the smoothing and accommodating.
Smoothing and accommodate. Okay. Thanks so much, Melissa. All right. Let's see. Cinderella, I don't think I've called on you yet.
No, but you can. So this actually reminds me, I was so excited when you guys were talking about this because I love like the psychology behavioral stuff. And
Nice.
I took this style quiz. It's the love style quiz and attachment project quiz back in the day. And I encourage you guys to take it because it does tell you a lot about the same problem solving scenarios, how you solve conflicts, how you relate to others, all these things. And there's actually like the secure connector, the facilitator, the victim, the controller, the pleaser. And it puts you into those categories and it teaches you just how to still be you, but a better version of you.
Amen
um
to that.
and so I encourage you guys to take those. Those are so awesome. I am the collaborative problem solver by nature.
Okay.
And I'm the facilitator in one of those, which I take on problems. I see them as a challenge. As people would say, I just grab the bull by the horns. That's how I am, and just go for it. And smooth accommodator after that, because I do like to know other people's perspectives. And at home, I'm the same way.
Oh, wow.
To me, it's a family. We all have to collaborate. We have to know what we're doing, where we're going, what's next. Yeah.
And which area would you want to get better at?
I would like to get along with the avoiders. I would like to get along with the compromisers
All right.
and the
All right.
avoiders. That's what I really need to work on because it irks me. I'm like a little bit like what's his name? I don't think he's here anymore. I think it was Kyle. Is it Kyle? Is that his name? I don't remember. But yeah, I get impatient with people who don't want to speak, who just want to avoid it. Like I'm like, just say it,
Right.
get it out.
But how about for you? Which management approach, conflict management approach, do you want to, be more adept at?
I like where I am.
Oh,
I like where I am.
that's good. Thanks, Cinderella.
Yeah.
Elicio.
Oh, here we go. Let's see. I'd like to be more direct. No, I'm kidding. So you have not my monkey, not my circus. I own the freaking circus. So.
And the soda stands and the popcorn and
So my boss is always telling me to stay in my lane because with my team, we're sort of like the last resource when they can't figure out who else to do it. So I have to kindly remind my engineers that in their job description it says, "In whatever your boss tells you to do," because I don't say no to anyone. Because I figure our customers, our patients don't care who do it. So I'd rather just take care of it. See, again, with my kids, my grandkids, I'm very accommodating, over accommodating, because I wanted them to have a different childhood than I did. But my whole idea is I need to amuse myself all the time. So I'm very inappropriate in gift giving, but it's hilarious. And what I've actually focused on is being more collaborative and waiting for them to come up with a solution before I tell them how to do it.
Mhm.
Nice. Nice. Which I know you were kidding about getting better at being forced or direct, but which one do you wish you had better skills at of these approaches?
Well, ever since I did the disc training that I have been working on being more collaborative, and understanding what motivates and what behavior traits motivates the individuals on my team and how I interact with them. So I really have focused on being more collaborative with them and letting them have a bigger say in what they do.
Nice, nice. Thanks you, Elicio. And I hope everything went well with your appointment earlier. So
Yeah, unfortunately, hernia surgery is on the bottom end of what I got to do.
okay. Well, sending positive thoughts and hope everything goes well. Thank you, Elicio. Curlin.
I thought I got away with it.
I am staring at your picture.
I think I'm more of a collaborate person.
Okay.
I think due to the test that we took, I don't remember when, it was probably last week or the week before. But I'm also very direct. So I think a combination of two
Oh,
or
wow.
even three, because sometimes I compromise as well. It just depends.
How about at home?
Oh, at home, definitely compromise.
Definitely.
But I collaborate as well, and I'm not as direct, I think. My partner doesn't do well with that, so I tone
we
it down a little bit. Yeah.
we all adjust to the situation. Yeah. Thanks, Carlin. Oh, which area would you want to get better at?
Maybe more compromise, because sometimes you see the vision. I mean, I think this is due to the line of work, right? And I'm like, oh, it's like right there, this is what we need to do, blah, 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 if we follow this process. But sometimes we do need to compromise a little bit before we can get there. So I think a little bit more patience in that area would be good.
Nice. Thanks so much, Carlin. And Cinderella, thank you. I'm copying on my desktop what you dropped in the chat here so I can take
You
a
get
look.
to learn a lot more about yourself. It's so good. So good.
Yeah. I love using these mirrors, right? It shows a different aspect of you that you probably haven't seen or seen, but just it was fuzzy, and these tools help you zoom in clearer. So thank you for sharing. Kelly Landaverde.
I don't really remember my results either, but just off the top of my head, I think I'm more of like a smooth, accommodate type person at like in a professional setting. And I think in my personal life, I think I'm also kind of a smooth and accommodate slash collaborate problem solve. I don't shy away from confrontation, but I do agree and resonate a lot with like, is the juice worth the, or what is it worth the squeeze or whatever? Like,
Or the squeeze, yeah.
yeah, I just like to pick and choose my battles. So I guess what I would want to tap more into force and direct, but I can be direct depending on the context. If I'm the subject matter expert in a meeting, I can be more forced and more direct and more forceful.
Thank you. Was there anyone that I didn't call on? All right. Well, thank you guys for sharing. As you can see, we all have areas that we're good at, areas that we're comfortable with, and areas that we need to work on and get better at. And again, you know, they all have their pros and cons. It's the art is in learning when to use which approach. All right. So as you can see here, smooth accommodate, you know, focus on agreement, you know, more harmony. Retreat is for withdraw avoid, and collaborate, you know, trying to bring in multiple points. Force direct, you know, kind of be very clear what you want, and sometimes at the expense of others' emotions. And compromise is looking for something in the middle that might not be what anyone wants specifically, but you know, better than not getting anything. So, all right. Any questions before we move on? Pretty straightforward. Okay, cool. All right. So, collaborating with stakeholders. Um, everyone's familiar with a register. All right. We talked about trust as the foundation for all of this, right? More people trust you, the more you can have an open conversation, and the better the collaboration and the productive output becomes. So, stakeholder engagement plan, trying to figure out, you know, what is the best way of connecting to your stakeholders. We also looked at the best way of communicating with them, and also what is their interest level, right? And what is their level of influence? So all those things that we need to know about the stakeholder, and just having that plan so it's easy to pull out and review is very helpful. Effective collaboration builds trust. Trust. There's this was able to talk to he was a Navy SEAL trainer in his previous life, and he shared something with me that I'd love to share with you guys, which was so powerful. He said, most people you have to earn trust, right? But for the Navy SEALs, trust is given. So the default for the Navy SEALs is, I trust you. And the reason they can do that is because in the event that you are not trustworthy, I can defend myself. I can take care of myself. So if I see Sweta in a dark alley, I'm gonna trust that Sweta's gonna do no harm. But in the event that she changes her mind, I feel confident that I can defend myself. So the entire training of the Navy SEAL is for you to be able to trust yourself that you can get out of, you know, pretty much any sticky situation that you might find yourself in. And I thought that that number one is pretty profound. And number two, there might be an application to the corporate world, right? I trust that Alicia, you know, is doing her part. I trust that Patrick will do his part. But in the event that that's not the case, then, you know, there are measures we can do to help rectify the situation. So for the past year, I've actually been trying to use that mantra of trust is given until proven otherwise. And it's been an interesting journey. So it pushes me to say yes more to things, especially things outside of my comfort zone, and meeting different people, new people. And so I just would love for you guys to think about that paradigm of trust is given unless otherwise, until proven otherwise, and see how that works for you. Um, Collaboration. So the more that people feel safe and secure in that circle of trust, the more they're willing to share opposing ideas, and the more that you can get different points of view. If you find yourself in a room and everyone is thinking the same way, you can do what's called blue team, red team. So you can have, the other team just for a minute be the opposing, like be that person that says, well, what if it's not that? Or what if it's wrong? Or what if there's a different way? Just pushing back when you don't have anyone is a role that I love to take on. Just how about this type of role? But if you're facilitating, make sure that um, you have different points of views as you're collaborating, because that's how you find, the third alternative, or the alternative that wasn't there before you started the collaboration and communication. These are collaboration activities. Um, when especially nowadays, everyone's on Teams, on their phones, on email. We're communicating almost to a fault where um, there's a bit too much, and so it's very important for you to have block off times in your days, be it an hour, wherein you can just do deep work on things that you need to think deeply about, and anything outside of that, have the stand-ups, the face-to-face meetings, which is, co-location if it's more than one, um, scheduled sessions. It's good to have all these collaboration sessions, but it's just as important to block off time for yourself so you can do deep work. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this book, Deep Work. It's by Cal Newport. It's a great book. And put it on Audible and just kind of get through it in 5 hours or so. But this is a book that has really forced me to look at my calendar and block off times for deep work, because that is where the most of your contribution comes from. All right. The stakeholder engagement plan, we talked about the stakeholder register. These are just different factors affecting your stakeholder engagement, right? The organizational culture, the climate, and also constantly updating your lessons learned, and just as you learn more about your stakeholders, updating your stakeholder register, like we talked about earlier, right? So that's a living and breathing document that you want to be available and as up to date as possible for the rest of the team members. All right. In terms of developing a stakeholder plan, use expert judgment. That's kind of a given. Hold the meetings. Yes. Analytical techniques to classify the engagement. So this is figuring out, not just based on the title, but what is their engagement in this project? How does it affect them? And how do they influence the project? So maximizing meeting time, making sure you have an agenda, making sure that it's realistic, right? making sure that you're very clear, is this an updates meeting or is this a working session? And if you can send the questions out ahead of time, if it's a work session type, keeping things tight, like we're going to spend 10 minutes on this or 15 minutes, that usually helps. And see if you can follow that. And if you need more time, you can, move it to parking lot and to if needed. Um, Meetings is one of the areas that we can all help improve upon. And there was this statistic that I saw. It was something like millions of collective hours spent on meetings, and most people feel that, I think only 20% of the meetings people go to, I think it's like something like 20% of it people found to be effective. So let's do our best to be in that 20%, like being mindful, being organized, sending out agenda items. And as we talked about, if the person is just a nice to be on, then you can follow up with them if you have questions, but only have the people that you absolutely need in the meeting so that when you do reach out to them, they know that they absolutely need to be there. Facilitating a meeting. So we talked about, having the right people around. I talked about the agenda, having time, uh, durations allocated to different items. Now with, Zoom, it's really cool to take notes, or all Teams also has one. So AI really helps in this domain of taking notes. And again, two things that I really emphasize, that first few minutes, try to get the people in the team asking about their weekend or things like that. And also towards the end, make sure that you captured any action items. And if you can figure out, okay, when are we going to meet next, while you have everyone on the call, right? Instead of trying to look at calendars after the fact. So don't forget to ensure that you have a follow-up meeting should that be the case. All right, monitor relevant stakeholders. Let's see here. So you want to pull in the right stakeholders at the right time, and also review with them what's the work that is in your backlog, what is the work that's completed, and what is the work that's actively being worked on right now, to give them a sense of momentum in terms of, things are being done, but also a sense of the scope in terms of what's in the backlog. What else are we working on, right? And that also applies to, new team members, and really spending time to onboard team members properly, making sure they have access to SharePoint and anything else that they need to get into. And simple things like, if when is their badge arriving? If you're in construction, do they have a hard hat? So just the basics that new people need, so they can get going on your project. Coaching and mentoring. Um, I'd love to ask you guys if you've ever had a coach and mentor, and if you had, what is one thing that you remember that that coach or mentor shared with you that is, still with you today? I'll start. I had a coach, a math coach, way back when, and we were doing, math math Olympics, for people like me who didn't have good core strength. And so, he said something in passing that I still think about today, which is, don't argue with X being the problem. So don't argue with the problem. Put all of your energy in figuring out the solution. It you only have, I think it was 5 minutes at the time to answer the question. So uh, any time you spend on complaining, like, oh, why are they asking calculus? We haven't gone through that yet. that time is wasted. Focus on the problem and don't focus on the solution and don't argue with X. So that's one thing that he said in passing that I still carry with me to this day. How about you guys? Any maxims or teachings that you might have picked up and still helps you to this day?
I have one. It's similar to what you were talking about, Ian. My medical director, to this day, like what stays with me from her is that she says it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So
Ooh,
yeah, so instead of focusing on the problem, it's like keep pushing forward pretty much, you know?
ah,
So don't focus on it, just keep going. It's just do the right thing, you know, just do it.
very good. Thank you. Anyone else? And it could be, someone that's not a formal coach or mentor, it could be a boss, it could be anyone that provided wisdom that you still, use to this day.
So I have one.
I also have, I'll go for it, Alicia.
So it's a two-part. So one, when I worked on the campus side, I had a director who would love to take credit for everything my group did, and which was fine.
Mm.
And then I just finished this leadership class, and during our discussions, one of the quotes she left me with was, "You don't need the light shining on you when you already carry the light within." And that's what I try and share with my team, is that they can, I want my team to have all the credit. I don't care. My job is to develop
Wow.
them, give them opportunity, let them meet the contacts that help them be successful. I'm fine right in the background, letting them shine.
Say that one more time.
It was, you don't need the light shining on you when you already carry the light within.
You already carry the light within. That is very profound. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Ian,
Yes, ma'am.
one of the things that so I was part of the team like when we started way back with Epic. And one of the things that they were really building was the culture of ISS. And super simple statement, but one that I think serves well in pretty much any situation is assume positive intent.
Ah,
And that one was like big across the board as we were, developing the system and figuring out, making all the, build and everything. But it has stuck with me however many years we are out now, 12, 13 years. The same as what you were saying about everybody is trying to achieve the same goal, just looking at it a different way.
very nice. I love that you say that because we were going over guiding principles with children's in Philadelphia, and I actually raised my hand and said, "Can we add another principle, which is assume positive intent?" So now it's part of their guiding principles as we're building out this 24-story pediatric tower. So I love that you share that, Melissa.
I think it's so important, like just, when you are in a conflict or a disagreement with someone, to like think that in the back of your head when you're like frustrated and you're so like you're not doing it right, but then you're like assume positive intent. They're trying to get to the same point too. It's really helped me a lot, I will say.
Beautiful. All right. Well, this is a good stopping point. We're at 3. We'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 3:11, and then we'll finish up the rest of part B, and then we'll call it a day. All right, guys. See you in 10 minutes. All right. Final stretch here, guys. So for the test, coaching is usually short term, very defined, very structured. Mentoring or mentorship is usually long term, uh, less defined and less structured. So think of coaching as you're getting better at a skill. Think of mentorship as getting better at life, right? So if you want to get better at swimming, do you get a swim coach or a swim mentor?
Coach.
Swim coach, right? So very specific, very structured. If you're trying to get better at, let's say, um, like being a better partner, or being a better leader, in your business, is that mentor or coach?
That would be mentor.
So think of it as coaching is short term and mentorship is long term. So
Right.
usually if you're trying to get better in business, you'll probably have this person, for a longer period. As your business grows, you're gonna need different skill sets. So coaching short, mentorship long, coaching structured, mentorship more ambiguous, and coaching skill and mentorship more around the person. So let me throw in the chat. There's this amazing book. What got you here won't get you there. It is a book that I refer to at least every 2 years and just listen to it because it really helps you understand that the skill sets, it's obvious to an extent, like that what got you to first grade is not what's going to get you to sixth grade and sixth grade to fourth year. But when it comes to our work, we sometimes forget that and we don't take into stock what what are the skill sets that I need to get to the next level. In the same way that the best surgeon isn't necessarily the best director of surgery, right? Very different skill sets. So if you are the best surgeon and you want to get into management, then you have to ask yourself, what are the skill sets that would make for a successful director of surgery, right? Because your skill as a surgeon might not necessarily translate into skill into running the department of surgery. So what got you here won't get you there is an amazing book, um, to be able to look at yourself and what do you need with where you want to go. And if it's a very specific skill, let's say, for example, um, you want to get better at speaking, so you might get a speaking coach, right? You want to get better at public speaking, so that a speaking coach would be great. But if you want to get better at interpersonal relationships or getting better at motivating your team members, you might want to look for someone who's where you want to be and see if they're open to mentoring you. So that's coach and mentorship. Um, we're gonna breeze through a few of these. I want to get to the organizational theories. So that's going to be on your test. We talked about individual mentoring and coaching. Talked about having others take the lead, and this could be formal or informal. Sharing knowledge with individuals. So as you're doing something, have someone be at your elbow, kind of show them what you're doing, and also the thought process, right? How did you get there? And what were you thinking of as you were working through either, a program, coding, putting together a project plan, putting together documents, whatever it is that you're working on, and you have a junior in the role, just having them shadow you really helps out. So don't you don't need to be in a formal setting in order to provide coaching and mentorship for your team members. Um, Mentor and coach as a group. So UCLA has a lot of opportunities to attend the different courses, training courses. So make sure you take advantage of those. Um, I'm pretty excited. The CIO of, I don't know if I told you guys the story of Altamed read my book, the Flow Like Water, and he really enjoyed it, and so he wants the leaders reporting up to him to attend a 2 hour workshop wherein I'll be going through the different leadership principles that I had in the book. So wish me luck there. I'm pretty excited to be able to share that with the folks in Ultimate. Training and sharing plans. So um, setting aside time for learning opportunities. And again, UCLA has a lot of opportunities that we can learn from, and also look for opportunities where you guys can volunteer to teach a class, to teach a subject. Um, as those of you who have mentored, lectured, taught a class, you learn so much by preparing for the topic. So, find ways to volunteer, especially at UCLA. There's so many things that you can volunteer for and be a part of in terms of training and mentorship. We talked about facilitation, leading a group, making sure that people share their ideas, right? And not shooting down ideas that might not be correct, but instead, you know, have everyone share what's on their mind, and then from there you filter down into what works, right? Transformational skills. So, again, going from here to there, right? The current state to the future state, and making sure that whatever it is that we're doing, supports the organizational goals, and you're able to use whatever methodology, be it agile or waterfall, as you're going through the transformation, and also looking at, what are the best practices, right? What are the things that, oh, thanks for the, I'll let you guys know how it goes. So keeping current is very important. There's a tendency for facilitators to just stick with what they know because it's convenient, but staying current with what's the latest out there in whatever it is that you're teaching or facilitating or trying to get the department or organization to get through. So, all right, applying emotional intelligence. So we talked about this a lot today. Um, One of the hardest things in my mind to do is is really active listening. It's easy to say, it's easy to define, but the reason I think it's so hard is because focus is now the most expensive currency. And before, we didn't have a lot of distractions, and our brains weren't trained to be looking for stimulus every 5 seconds, right? Now it is it is really hard to just like listen to Kenny for 10 minutes without interrupting and really trying to understand where he's coming from, and letting go of the thoughts that come in. um hey, did I submit that invoice? Hey, Oh man, what time do I need to pick up the kids again? So all these things that are going through your mind as you're trying to listen to someone. Um, I find that meditation, if this is an area you want to get good at, meditation helps because part of it is observing without criticizing, right? So I try to do a 10-minute practice every day, and it doesn't sound like much, but boy, is it hard to just for 10 minutes. Um, either, I use Headspace, they have daily guides, but you can use a guide, or you can not use a guide and just sit still for 10 minutes and, observe your breath. It is a great practice, and it truly is a practice because it is hard to help you with empathy, with listening, with emotional intelligence, because it all starts with you being present and turning down the volume of that voice in your head so you can listen to other people, right? So I really encourage you to, if you haven't already discovered meditation or added it to your daily practice, it is one of the things that I think that has really helped me. And is anyone familiar with Yuval Harari? He wrote this book called Sapiens, which I also highly recommend you guys check out. Just a story of it's a story of humans. I think it's maybe it's I'm sure I'm missing an R here somewhere. Yuval Harari. But anyway, Yuval is a history professor, and from Israel, and just one of the most luminary thinkers of our time. And he meditates an hour a day, twice a day. So 2 hours every day of just being quiet on his mat on the floor. And 1 month out of the year, he goes on a silent retreat. So for 30 days, he doesn't utter a word. And it has helped him with his thought process and become, again, one of the leading luminaries of our time. So check out his book if you haven't. It's an amazing thing. And so he is, my role model or mentor, um, virtual mentor, I guess, in terms of learning how to listen better. And in his case, it's listening to the story of humanity. For me, I'm just trying to listen to my teenager. So um, I, I can't go beyond my household yet, but um, try to incorporate that and it will help you with self-awareness, self-regulation, um, listening to your body. I don't know if you guys have noticed that if you're going through something, different parts of your body get tense. Like for me, if it's like money issues, it'll be my lower back. If it's issues at work, not being able to state what I want, it would be, back of my neck. It's just killing me. And so different, stress and conflict um finds their way and expresses their way in your body. And so be mindful of that, and that's what meditation also helps you with. That first part is just scanning your body, looking at what's tense, what is hurting, what is your body trying to tell you for the day. And that practice of physical awareness will then lead to your mental awareness, emotional awareness, which then becomes part of your self awareness ritual that leads to self regulation, that leads to motivation. And from there, you can go to understanding other people better and empathizing with others better. So, highly recommend that you pick up a meditation practice. And it could be what they call a moving meditation, wherein you take, you're out on a walk, you don't have, you're not listening to music or anything, and you're just noticing your breath, the sounds around you, and noticing what thoughts are coming to mind. And that might be for you, right? Does anyone have a practice right now that they
Yeah, I have
have
it.
been doing for? How about you, Sweta? What is your meditation?
Um, it's a meditation that we do. Like they suggest like just to sit it, as you said, just sit on a mat and just calm down and just close your eyes. It's very hard, honestly. It took me for a 1 month to sit for 30 minutes per day, and initially I couldn't sit, but it's really heals a lot. A lot of things it heals. So right now I'm in
Wow.
a club that's, yeah, it's a very famous also, I think, Ian, like it's called the PSSM club. Most like many hundreds of people are there in that.
Throw it in the chat if you don't mind, Sweta. I'll
Yeah,
I'll take
I'll
a
do
look
that.
at.
Yeah.
Uh, Jennifer, you.
Yeah, I do hot yoga, and then at the end, sometimes they do sound meditation. So yeah, that's really helpful, especially after like a really stressful day. Go to hot yoga, sweat it out, and then just lay on your mat with like live music.
Mhm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, the downward dog in hot yoga and all that sweat just runs down your back. It's, um, I am
Like how
surprised, right? Like I didn't know, my palms could sweat that much. So I'm with you, Jennifer. Hot yoga is an amazing practice. Anyone else have a practice that helps them with self-regulation and self-awareness?
I also do sound baths. I feel
Oh,
like,
sound baths. Okay.
yeah, doing those once a month has helped me slow down and just kind of recenter myself. So it's kind of a meditation plus the sound bath at the same time. So I find it helpful.
I haven't tried the sound bath. Thank you for sharing that. I'll give it a try. I have friends in LA that are sound bath practitioners, but I've just been doing withdrawal and avoid every time they invite me to come up. So I'll give it a shot. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing, guys. So it really helps, right? So when you look at self-awareness, emotional awareness, understanding your feeling, and also, and I'm still working on this myself, understanding when you're switching from having an intellectual conversation to an emotional conversation, right? When you're now in that fight or flight, when you're now, wanting to win versus trying to win together, right? So, and noticing that in your body. Like for me, usually my mouth gets dry, my fingers feel a little numb and tingly. So try to notice that in yourself. Like when you're starting to get upset, what are the physical triggers and signs so that you can catch yourself and say, okay, I'm no longer having an intellectual conversation. This is now switching to more of an emotional conversation. And I need to catch myself. I need to take a breath. I need to maybe, step away for 5 minutes or whatever the case might be. And so you can come back, and have a meaningful conversation with the person you're talking to. And from there, you can hopefully start developing uh, self-confidence and improving your self-esteem. And self-esteem is the overall, value or worth that you feel. Self-confidence is more focused on a specific skill or activity. So you might have high self-esteem, but low self-confidence when it comes to public speaking, for example, right? Or you could be an amazing public speaker, but when you're off the stage, you actually have low self-esteem, right? So those are the difference between those two. Self-regulation elements, self-control. When you want to just, you know, yell, scream, being able to catch yourself and, taking deep breaths and trying to remain cool under pressure. Trustworthiness, you say something, you do it, you say you'll be there, you show up, you try your best to be predictable. Because that, at the end of the day, trustworthiness is predictability, right? Can I rely on you, Jasmine, to do what you said you would do by Thursday, right? So that's trustworthiness. Conscientious is being meticulous and mindful of the work that you do. Um, and also having a process, right? Like having some sort of order or structure. Um, Adaptability is being able to pivot and change depending on what's going on, and not being too rigid that you can't function when things don't happen the way you want them to be. And innovation would be thinking of new ways of doing things, right? Embracing possibilities, embracing novel ideas, embracing suggestions that other team members might have that you might not have thought of to begin with. Interpersonal and team skills, we talked about active listening, talked about emotional intelligence, we talked about, nominal group technique. I think that was the voting, right? Uh, we talked about transparency, motivation elements, commitment, making sure that everyone is committed to the cause. Achievement drive, we all want to excel at something. And so making sure that there are achievable goals in front of the team is very important. Initiative, giving people the opportunity to start things. And optimism is being hopeful of the future, and not shying away from risk and issues, but it's just that trust, similar to what I was talking about with the Navy SEALs, right? They trust that if the person they're dealing with is not trustworthy, that they can take care of themselves. So trusting that the team can figure out any issues that might come their way throughout the project. And that optimism is very contagious, right? People love following leaders who believe in a brighter future and trust that the team can get there. We talked about empathy, right? The ability to put yourself in other people's shoes and really try to feel the emotions. We we actually do this unconsciously when we're watching movies, right? You empathize with the protagonist, and that's why you feel scared when they're being chased. You might cry if it's a sad ending, or you might be happy when they win, the game or whatever it is. So we do this already a lot when we're, watching TV or movies or reading a novel and get caught up in the story. Um, and if we can do the same for the people that we're dealing with, it makes a world of a difference when they understand that you're trying your best to understand where they're coming from. And one way to um, really establish empathy is by trying to repeat in your own words what you've just heard, right? Here's what I heard, Jasmine, from what you said. Let me know if this is correct. And if I say it in such a way that you feel understood, it just changes the dynamic. Oh, thanks, Melissa. Um, so there's empathy, looking inward, understanding others, uh, observing emotional cues, right? Service orientation, understanding customers' point of view. So these are examples of empathy looking inward. And there's also empathy looking outward, developing others, recognizing, coaching, mentoring, learning diversity, right, is an example. showing consideration for diverse groups, and political awareness, right? So you're looking out into the political arena, and this isn't, Republicans, Democrats. This is more the politics within the company, and making sure that you're understanding that landscape. Um, Relations are almost always more important than whatever it is that you're arguing about in the room. So if it's not the right time to be forceful and direct, don't force it. And sometimes you need to allow people to get to the conclusion in their own time. And so having that patience is very important as you're navigating, the political landscape. Social skills, we talked about, communication, building bonds, leadership, uh, being a change catalyst when needed. We covered communication and building bonds, right? Establishing large casual networks. Again, um, there's this concept in social psychology called strong, weak ties. Strong, weak ties. So a lot of times the growth in your professional life will come from people that who are acquaintances, but not necessarily part of the 3 to 5 people that are really close to you, right? So establishing strong, weak ties is very helpful for your professional growth. All right. Collaboration, cooperation, we covered this already. Change catalyst, advocating for change, appreciating it when people, raise their hands and have new ideas that will help improve and change current situation. Let's see. We talked about conflict management a lot earlier. Influence, these are things that you can do to increase your influence, how you present both, PowerPoint presentations, but also how you show up, right? Your demeanor, everything that is nonverbal, it doesn't mean that you need to go out and buy very expensive clothes, but make sure that you're as presentable as possible. One of the things that I'm personally working on is posture, right? My wife always slaps me in the back, stand up straight. And since I'm 6 foot, usually people that I'm talking to are, you know, not taller than me. So I've learned to kind of hunch, and that's not good in terms of, exuding confidence. So that's something that I'm working on myself. We talked about leadership and team capabilities, building team character, attracting good people to the team, and safeguarding, the team's culture. So this is the part that I wanted to get to, organizational theories. So there are a few theories that you don't need to memorize, but you need to be familiar with. The first one is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Raise your hand if this is something you're familiar with already. So Kelly, okay. Melissa. Patrick, all right. So real quickly, so Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the main premise is that before you can get to the top of the pyramid, self-actualization, you need to satisfy the bottom needs, right, of this pyramid. So the physiological needs, this is your need for air, water, right? Food, shelter. So that's your physiological. And then after that, you have the safety needs, right? So knowing that you're safe from the elements, safe from harm. In the workplace, this would be a culture wherein you can raise your hand, right? And and share your thoughts, that sense of safety. And after that is the sense of belongingness. This is where love comes into play, right? So um, being able to connect with friends and partners, and in the workplace, this would be your tribe, right? The folks you hang out with, either during lunch or happy hour. So that's your sense of belongingness. And the fourth one is self-esteem, right? So this is how you value yourself, how the team values themselves. And the last one is self-actualization. This is where what you're meant to be is who you are, right? So you're self-actualized, you've reached your potential. And so these are the steps that, according to Maslow, you need to have physiologic needs met, and then you can get to safety, and then you get to belonging. The part that I want to share with you guys about this is that I've seen this over and over again, in my own personal life, and with family and friends, where people have unresolved safety issues, and they try to get into a belonging relationship, and the partner is usually frustrated, like, why is it that it is so hard for Jasmine to open up, it is so hard for her to share what's on her mind. She's very cold, or um she's just not there for me, right? And a lot of times, quote unquote, Jasmine um have unresolved issues around physiological needs, safety needs. They don't feel that they can share what's on their mind without being ridiculed, without being laughed at. Or maybe when they were young, they their voice was really never heard, right? They would say something, it wasn't acknowledged. So to all of a sudden becoming an adult, and you're in a relationship wherein you're being asked to do these things, and you still have these unresolved issues, it is so hard to just jump right from safety to belonging if you don't have that safety needs met. So if you don't feel like you're in a safe relationship, you would be protective, right? You wouldn't share what's on your mind, or be present, because you don't feel that you're emotionally safe. So when you're dealing, with people that have these issues, and you're trying to figure out, like, what's going on, more likely than not, you're trying to ask of them, right? A level that they're probably not on. So someone who hasn't, either grew up in a sense of belongingness or love from either the group, the family, childhood, work, it is hard for that person to now jump into having high self-esteem, right? Because you need these foundational things in order to get to the higher level. So just have that in mind when you're dealing with different team members. And what I learned from Oprah, she said whenever she meets someone difficult, she asks herself, silently, I wonder what happened to you. And then you start approaching it with curiosity versus, darn it, why did Jennifer cut me off in, traffic, or whatever it is. But if you ask, I wonder what happened to Jasmine, then it opens you up to curiosity, and that other person can feel it, and now they might be, more inclined to share. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with a difficult team member or stakeholder. Ask yourself, I wonder what happened to this person, and it will change how you approach it. Uh, a few more organizational theories. One is McGregor's theory of X and Y, right? So basically, what he proposes is that there are two types of employees. One, the first theory, Theory X, assumes that people dislike work, they don't want responsibility, therefore, they need strict supervision. So this would be, the factory workers that closely monitors, micromanages their team because they believe that without that micromanaging strict rules that they would just not complete the task, right? And there's another theory, which is theory Y, that assumes that people find satisfaction in work. They want to get things done. They want responsibility. They want to be acknowledged. So this is where, you have, for example, a software company that gives more leeway to their developers as long as the task and the goals are clearly defined. So I think that you need a little bit of both, you need to have definitions as to, we expect you to be around from 9 to 5, for example. Um, so there are some basic things. We expect you to, attend most of the meetings that are recurring. We expect you. So these are theory X items, but the bulk of it is theory Y, wherein you give people the latitude to do the work as long as the goals are clear. So that's McGregor's theory of X and Y. So the question in the test might be, you have very clear times when people should check in, clock into work, clock out of work. So that is theory X. If you're, allowing people to set their own schedule as long as the goals are defined, so that's theory Y. Any questions between theory X and Y before I move on? I know this is a new topic that we haven't covered. The other one is McClellan's achievement theory. So for him, he focuses on motivators. So there's 3 motivators for him. The first one is a need for achievement, right? Need to excel, need to meet standards. So these are people who are, well, high achievers, right? The next one is need for affiliation. So this is, these are people who want to be around other people more. If you're doing a job interview, they're more interested in, um, you know, who are the team members and how often do we meet? Do we have on-site visits? What are the things that we do as a team? What are team building exercises? So that's, a need for affiliation motivator. And the third one is the need for power. How fast can I move up the food chain, right? What control do I have over people? So these are the 3: achievement, affiliation, and power. So I'm going to stop sharing here for just a second. Um, let's see. Cinderella, are you still on? Might have stepped away. How about Nick? Are you on, Nick?
Yeah, I'm on.
So Nick, tell me if this is a need for achievement, affiliation, or power. Okay. So this is a desire for friendly relationships. Achievement, affiliation, or power.
Oh. Affiliation.
Affiliation. Yep. Patrick. So this is a need for to excel and meet standards. Achievement, affiliation, or power.
For excelling, I'd say achievement.
Achievement. And Alicia. This is a desire to influence or control. Is that achievement, affiliation, or power?
Power.
Power. Yep, absolutely right. Cool. So that was McClellan's achievement theory. Perfect. All right. Last one is Herzberg's motivational theory. So for him, there are intrinsic motivators and extrinsic motivators. So intrinsic would be achievement, recognition, responsibility. Extrinsic would be, pay, work conditions, things, outside of the individual. So, for example, a good pay is extrinsic, right? So hygiene factors, but they want to feel engaged, right? So that's an intrinsic motivator. So basically for Herzberg, the hygiene factors, right, extrinsic factors, these are things that are needed to succeed, right? These are table stakes, like having a laptop, having a desk, having access to SharePoint. These are things that you need to get started, but doesn't necessarily ensure that the person will be satisfied, right? But you need them. They're basic. The next level is the motivators, right? So are they recognized for their work? Do they have enough responsibility? Can they grow into their job? So those are the motivators that allows them to be satisfied. So you need both, but you start with the hygiene factors, right? And then you work on the motivators, the intrinsic factors. Is that clear? So Jasmine, um, having the right pay scale, is that intrinsic or extrinsic?
Extrinsic.
Extrinsic. Sweta, uh, giving responsibility that's exciting and motivating. Is that intrinsic or extrinsic?
Intrinsic.
Intrinsic. Perfect. So those were the four that I wanted to cover before we end today. We have Maslow, right? The hierarchy of needs. We have McGregor, theory X and theory Y. Um, does anyone remember what the difference between theory X and theory Y is? One of them thinks that people are lazy, so you have to micromanage them. Is that X or Y?
X.
X.
Ooh, X.
X. And is lazy and okay. And one of them, the other theory is people are self-motivated. They just need to know, what the goal is and they'll go for it. Is that theory X or Y?
Y.
Bye.
Y. Perfect. And for McClellan achievement theory, right? So these are the different needs. Does anyone remember what those needs are? There are three needs.
For the
Achievement.
affiliation power.
Affiliation power. So AAP, right?
Yeah.
Achievement, affiliation, and power. Um, three volunteers. Which one motivates you more? Achievement, affiliation, or power?
Achievement.
Achievement.
Achievement. All right. Alicia, um, anyone else that's motivated by affiliation? The group, the people. How about power? And mind you, none of them are good or bad. It just is, right? So don't think that if you're motivated by power, that's a bad thing.
Well, with
I
good
like it.
achievement comes power. I
Sometimes.
think.
Not always.
Sometimes, yeah, that's true.
It's a pathway, but you'd be surprised how many people in power haven't achieved anything. Ouch.
Absolutely none.
Yeah.
Right.
But like,
Boom! Burn.
For real.
I mean,
Uh,
Ian, I will say, like, when a manager empowers you, they don't micromanage you and they empower you to do things on your own. It is motivational for sure.
yes, absolutely. I 100% agree. Nothing makes you feel competent than being allowed to do things that's at the top of your license, right? So Cool. And Herzberg, motivation. Two types of motivation.
Intrinsic and extrinsic.
Yes. And so which one, just looking at intrinsic, extrinsic, which one would be your pay? Is that intrinsic, extrinsic?
Extrinsic.
Extrinsic. How about your laptop?
Extrinsic.
Extrinsic. And how about stretch goals?
What goals?
Stretch, like things that you have to work on.
That would be intrinsic. By
Intrinsic.
yourself. Mhm.
Absolutely. Perfect. So that was that. Active listening, reflecting, attending, and following, right? So asking the follow-up, like, hey, is this what you said, Kenny? Am I grasping this? So these are the three things that you have to remember for active listening. You have to reflect, you have to attending, like you're right there, maintaining eye contact, and then following up with questions. So these are things that I struggle with the reflecting, like just not trying to come up with a solution and just really listen and be present. So that's the part that I need to work on. And last one is building emotional intelligence with key stakeholders. It starts with recognizing, right, your own emotions, your own behavior, and being able to tell when you're starting to be upset or frustrated, or you need a break, right? You need to step away. Um, and seeing that in others as well, and using all the different tools that we talked about, right? From when do you shift from being forceful and direct to maybe reconciling, right? So these are all the different things that we talked about today allows you to be more emotionally intelligent with your stakeholders, but it starts with yourself. So spend a lot of time learning about yourself, learning about what triggers you, learning about your own physical cues so that you can be better at seeing that in others. So, with that, for the last 2 minutes, love to get 3 shares and we will call it a day. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller?
Impediments versus obstacles versus blockers.
You stole my idea, Chris. I was the one actually was thinking the same thing.
Were you? Oh, nice. Yeah. We use them interchangeably, but which one slows us down?
Impediments.
Yeah.
Which one could be avoided?
Obstacles.
And which one stops us?
Blockers.
Blockers. All right, cool. And one last one?
Theory, X and Y.
Theory X and Y, right?
Yeah, that's
Which
theory
one
one.
is thinks workers are lazy?
X.
X. And which one thinks workers are self-motivated?
Y.
Y. Perfect. On that note, thank you guys so much. I will give you a whopping 1 minute back in your day. And I will see you for our last section next week. And for those of you who weren't able to share the chart or report, see if you can do that next week. And we'll start off with that and we'll finish module 5. And that'll be it. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.
Have a great weekend. Bye.